Okay.
for the leak detection activities. And so that really is the next step from my perspective.
Sounds like we ought to have them come out and see if they can find a leak. Whoever we're thinking about selecting, because
Well, we
could have selected this outfit.
Exactly.
The free outfit.
Exactly. But I knew that based on past experience with the Colorado Rural Water Association, their hearts are in the right place, but oftentimes they are ill-equipped to deal with something of this magnitude.
Yeah. AJ, where do we go with this in terms of developing a budget?
Well, here's the thing. We've got many capital requirements that are still up in the air, and we're trying to close out the whole issue, with negotiations with the U.S.
State.
Fish and Wildlife Services.
Oh.
That is a huge unknown at this point. Is how much money does the district really have at the end of the day to address leaks?
What about the state of Colorado and resolving that fine?
Yeah, and that's another big question mark. We did hear back from the state. They said they'd have us an initial amount by the end of this month, and then we'll enter into a negotiation phase. So I'm really eager to see what they come back with. Also, I wanted to let you know that both Stephen and I became aware of a grant just 2 days ago that's currently offered through the Colorado Water and Power Authority for improvements to small systems. And I started filling out the application yesterday, but we could potentially, if we get that grant, we could use it to address some of the leaks. The maximum grant amount is $250,000, so we'll apply for the max.
Yeah.
And, we can certainly identify a need for service or the funds. So, I'm excited about that, but that's going to be a few months down the road before we hear as to whether or not we've been approved to receive the grant. Now, grants are a great thing because it's basically free money. There's a little bit of work associated with getting those grants, but we've got that application in the works.
Okay.
Right.
What about the USDA?
USDA is not really panning out the way I had hoped it would. Part of the issue is they won't just loan us, they won't simply give us a grant. They want to tie it to a loan. And right now, we already have debt out there, and we're approaching the limits of I think, our voter authorization. So if we were going to borrow more money, we would probably have to go to a vote with the electorate. That's a difficult process, and it's time-consuming, and it costs money.
Right, exactly.
It's not the easiest target right now, the USDA. So anyway, we're looking at this Water and Power Authority grant. Also, while we're on the subject of grants, and this is on the agenda elsewhere, but I'll address it now since we're going down that road. I've been in contact with the Colorado Water Conservancy Board, and they have some water supply reserve account grants, is what they call them. They don't normally apply to water and sanitation districts. However, we might be an exception to that rule because, one of the things that we're trying to do is acquire some water rights. And if we can acquire what we actually need, and that frees up whatever's left and tied up under our lease for use elsewhere in the San Luis Valley. So if we can, if we can identify exactly what the district actually needs and purchase it rather than to continue to lease it, we may be a candidate for a grant from that organization as well.
Are you talking about the Colorado Water Conservation Board?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because we've got some really good connections in this valley. Travis Smith is on that board, and he represents this region, and I think he would advocate. So let me know how I might be able to help with that.
Oh, I certainly will. In fact, I just got off the phone this morning with the local roundtable chair for the Rio Grande Basin, and his name is
Mike Gibson.
Yeah, Mike Gibson.
Mm-hmm.
He thought this is something that might work for us. So
Oh, that's wonderful.
we can, again, anytime that we can, take advantage of state funding without a lot of strings attached or without incurring to it, that's a great thing.
Just so you know, I'm actually meeting with both of those guys on Tuesday about something else, so if you want to talk to me and have something delivered to them, I would be glad to do so.
Well, that sounds good.
That's great, Chris.
By the way, we looked into a grant for a water efficiency program, which is also offered through the Conservation Board, but that is a little more difficult to get, and the amount of money that's available is not as much, and you have to adopt a conservation plan, which in itself is a good thing, but it takes time to do, and there's quite a bit of you have to demonstrate that you're conserving what you said you would, and that kind of thing. So it's just a little more difficult. I think this approach of going to the water supply reserve account for a grant is the best way to go through the Conservancy Board.
Great.
Thank you, AJ. That's great news.
Good work.
Yeah.
Well, and there's actually another grant that I've submitted an application for, and that would be through the CDPAG to reclaim the old mobile home estates lagoon. So, part of what we have left to do is put that back into, we need to reclaim that ground, get rid of everything that used to be there, and put it back in the way it used to be. And that's an expensive process. So we've applied for a grant that the CDPAG is offering the districts who have incurred violations, which the district has in the past, and also where a water body is affected. So in this case, that used to discharge, I think, to South Crestone Creek, or Stephen would probably know. But at any rate, we meet the criteria there, so we're applying for that one as well. It's not as much money, but I've put in a request for $50,000. Hopefully that comes through.
Great.
Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you.
AJ.
So I have a couple of questions about operations. Is that a drilling rig I see down at,
Yes.
have they started drilling already? Or?
Yes, they did. They started yesterday on the emergency well.
Great.
Yay! That's exciting.
It is exciting, yeah. Keep your fingers crossed and wish them well. Very
Hopefully they
dangerous
get water.
activity, the drilling. So hopefully there won't be any injuries, and they'll get us a great well that will last a good long time.
Great. And then the other thing I noticed, there was a pipe water break out to Casita Park. What was it?
Yeah, we had a leak.
Quite a big one, or?
It had been going for some time. There was, there's groundwater out there, so the leak got bad enough that we could see it bubbling up. So we took care of that, and it's not leaking any longer.
Was
so
that
that's
an
good
old
news.
pipe or a new pipe?
It was an old pipe, an old
Okay.
water line that
Okay.
was part of the original construction. Yes, Frank?
This is a follow-through from the last meeting where I had a couple of thoughts when I was leaving. One is, are there any parts of our system that can be inactivated because there are no customers being served, where you've extended the lines and...
That's a great question. That I know of, unfortunately, no. It would really be a fantastic option for us.
Just
but-
to try to simplify things.
Yeah, it's a great question, but if you look at the map behind you, you can see that it's just interspersed with residents, the entire
Yeah,
Dish-
But it-
people move to
And
the
so-
periphery
It's
first.
kind of a grid. Are there any parts of that that?
Well, I wouldn't say that it's a grid.
When
Um,
when we started off here back in the 70s, if you had a lot that didn't have water and sewer available, the legal option was to accept a trade for another lot closer in. We're beyond that practical point.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
You can be 2 miles.
That's a good thought.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's too
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah.
The
It is too bad, and it's a great question. There may be a couple cul-de-sacs that we could shut down.
anything.
And that would just improve general water quality, and so we'll be sure to review that based on your idea. But as far as I know, there's no street that would be able to be shut off.
The other question related to the fire services district, whether it be the Baca or the future one. When we built our house, I looked very carefully at where the nearest fire hydrant was. And it occurred last time you were saying that none of these have been checked out recently,
None of what?
of the fire hydrants, to see that they're operative.
No, I think that must have been a misunderstanding,
Okay.
because the last 3 years we
We've been
have.
doing that,
Actually-
major,
Okay.
major.
it's been a major thing to go to all of them.
Did you find any
We've
that
actually-
didn't deliver water?
That haven't been, well, no, we found a lot that.
We found a lot, but
Go ahead, Steve.
You
'cause
tried
you've
to
been-
turn them on and.
you've been
there's
doing
no
it.
water.
Over the last 3 years, we have 277 fire hydrants.
Uh-huh.
Over the last 3 years, each of them has been oiled and maintained. And we currently have 3 fire hydrants that are inoperable.
Okay.
And you can tell that they're inoperable because they have an orange bag on them.
Good, that's not ours.
In the winter, we had 7, because 4 of them were frozen. And so now that we're out of the freeze time of year, then we have 3 total that are requiring repair.
So none of them have corroded or? become
No,
loose
they
or-
do corrode,
Yeah.
and they do require maintenance. We've actually took the 5 hydrants from various locations that had come out and been replaced with new ones, and we've rebuilt those.
Okay.
And so what the plan is we will reinstall those hydrants and continue to rebuild and refurbish as we go through. So we'll target all the ones first that aren't operable and need replacement.
Okay, thanks.
But we have a very high percentage of operation with the fire hydrants.
Great.
That's been an ongoing and important project.
Hey,
It's been handled for the last.
You know who started that maintenance of fire hydrants? The
Uh-oh.
fire department,
yeah.
in the
And
early
how
90s.
did we let it slip for 20 years? We weren't doing anything, or?
We don't know. 'Cause
The
we
fire
haven't-
department pushed this district to start maintaining those wells because they were going on fires and having trouble finding
Yeah.
hydrants that worked.
The reason that it slipped is that it's an enormous system, and there's always been a deficiency and a lack of manpower to handle the system, its maintenance. And so it's a matter of prioritization and about developing the level of service that you and the board of directors want. And so that's how it slipped. And it's not hard to understand.
It
Because
started.
we have
Yeah.
4 guys working full-time every day, every business day, just trying to maintain and keep everything operational. And so if we want to do more, then we need more manpower.
Yeah.
Well, we
It
hired out-
started